FX도 약간 살쪘다고 생각하겠네요.
어때요? 본인 기준에?
기준에서?
다들 이쁘시고 멋지신데 군데군데 좀 뺄 때는 있다고 생각합니다.
살이 쪄 있다.
설리 씨는 여기 팔뚝이랑 아까 종아리
이 팔뚝이 셔츠 한번 보여줘요. 셔츠 한번 보여줘요. 근데
Korean beauty standards are notorious. I don't really need to get into it. From the rigorous diets trainees have to go through at a young age, to the countrywide obsession with cosmetic surgeries, there are probably dozens of videos talking about this topic if you search for it. But less has been said about the other end of the conversation, the media representation. How is this beauty standard presented to the audience? I think it's an important topic because in the modern age, things seldom become a phenomenon unless the media pushes for it. This is a show called Running Man. It's the longest running entertainment show in South Korean television history. With fan bases in America, UK, Indonesia, Thailand, and most of East Asia, Running Man is probably the most popular show in Korea. And while the game show format is largely irrelevant to this discussion, it's worth noting that each episode, the show brings in new guests to participate in its weekly races, including But today, we're not going to talk about any of these big names. Instead, I want to focus on one lesser-known guest of the show. This is Kim Seol-hyun. You may remember her from my previous video talking about a drama she starred in. Watch that, and subscribe while you're at it too. But before Kim Seol-hyun starred in Netflix dramas, she was a member of a K-pop girl group called AOA. Widely regarded as the beauty icon of South Korea in her early and mid-20s, she was one of the most frequent guests on Running Man. But in her 6 total appearances on the show over a 5-year span covering most of her idol career, I believe there's an untold story about media representation of beauty in Korea. Today I want to dissect that representation and how the show sculpted her image in each of these episodes, in a story that I like to call The Curse of Beauty. So let's dive in. If you'd like to skip ahead, please refer to the chapter markers down below. Seolhyun made her first appearance on the show in 2014. The context of this episode is each cast member has to go to various talent agencies to recruit contestants to participate in a game of checkers, and Seolhyun was the chosen participant from her agency. Having only debuted 2 years ago at that time, she was not the most well-known name across the participants, and because of that, she didn't share as much screen time and talking points as her fellow contestants, having only said one sentence that made it to air.
아 진짜?
But what is noteworthy is this particular comment that was made about her and 2 other participants later in the episode.
우리 혜정 씨, 설현 씨, 우리 뭐 장윤 아나운서까지.
네네.
야 정말 이쁘네요.
진짜 잘해요. 미인이에요. 정말.
Remember this one because this will be a recurring theme. Her second appearance happened a year later in 2015, but this time things were different. Having just starred in a feature film and various TV shows, Seolhyun was on the rise. Not only was she on the face of every TV commercial in the country, she was on the lips of every K-pop fan, even going so far as being named Model of the Year. And it seemed she was slowly becoming a K-pop beauty icon, a title that will follow her in years to come. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of the producers for a second. Having successfully invited Korea's fastest rising star to the show must be a huge victory. This is the perfect opportunity to leverage that attention to showcase her personality. After all, this is what variety shows are about, to lift the veil off of celebrities and idols and actors to bring them closer to the audience. There's no better platform to do this than the biggest show of the country. So surely what's going to happen now is they'll give her plenty of screen time and lots of talking points, right? Not true. I mean, she did get a lot of screen time, don't get me wrong, almost 10.5 minutes. And in one episode featuring 12 different individuals, that's pretty good. but she didn't really get a chance to speak. But let's do a quick quiz. How many times did you think Seolhyun spoke in the episode? Being the most valued guest in one full episode of Running Man, how many lines made it to air? 2. Yep, you heard me. 2. Okay, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing things out of proportion. Theoretically, she speaks a little more than that, but sometimes I don't even know if they can be considered as speaking. So I'll let you be the judge. These are the times she's heard speaking no more than a few words. These are the times when it's barely a complete sentence. And as for actual conversations, well, these are the only 2 instances.
재밌는 건 이거.
사고 싶다. 못 가봤죠? 가봤어요? 네.
To put things in perspective, if I add up all the lines, you'll get a total duration of 16 seconds. Keep in mind this episode is 83 minutes long. Dividing this by her screen time, that's only 1/36 of the time we get to hear her speak. And you might wonder, how is this possible? How could she be on screen for so long but never talked? Well, she wasn't completely silent. For the time she's on screen but not speaking, she's mostly heard cheering, laughing, and screaming. This is where the plot thickens. At the end of the episode, one of the members is heard saying this. What this line and the lower thirds on screen was suggesting is that during the shoot day, Seolhyun tried extremely hard to win the race, something that everyone else was naturally doing. I mean, it's a race. So how can someone be enthusiastic about winning but be silent throughout? My guess is she wasn't. But her ambitious display probably contradicted the image that the producers were trying to sculpt. You see, in K-pop, beauty doesn't only represent aesthetic excellence. It also comes with an abundance of image. You may have already heard of the infamous no dating policy forced on all K-pop idols upon their debut, but the reason behind such policy is to maintain an image of innocence, an image that will further perpetuate the fantasies of their fan base. Now, innocence in K-pop culture can come in many forms. Most of them are total bullshit. But one thing that definitely doesn't live on that list is ambition. This is a tough guess, but I'm willing to wager that it was a deliberate choice to cut out all the lines where she sounded too enthusiastic to win the race. And all we're left with are these. Her next appearance happens later in the same year, but since it was a Christmas special, we'll count it towards 2016. On the surface, things did start to improve. She was finally seen speaking, God bless. And because there were a total of 17 individuals in that episode, the lack of screen time isn't necessarily an issue. But I want to pull focus to the beginning of this episode, a segment where the show hosts introduced every guest and gave them a short interview. They went around the room and talked about music they were doing, movies they were starring in, shows they were appearing on, and then they got to interviewing Seolhyun. Quiz number 2. What do you think they asked her?
서현 씨, 일단 저 다른 것보다도 좀 동작 몇 개만 한번 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
They asked her to dance. Really? Keep in mind this episode was filmed in December of 2015, 1 month after the 36th Blue Dragon Film Awards, where Seolhyun had taken home the Popular Star Award and was simultaneously nominated for Best New Actress. Surely mentioning that would have been more interesting than making her dance. And it's not like the show didn't capitalize on her now idolized beauty. Remember when I said they finally let her speak in this episode? Well, it's only for the necessity of some of the games she was playing. Aside from that, she was mostly heard laughing, cheering, and you get the idea. Her fourth appearance on the show in 2016 was a short cameo which served as a checkpoint for one of the members to complete a certain mission. But the conversation here is a rather tough pill to swallow, and it's worth providing a bit of context. So, in a previous episode, one of the cast members underwent an MRI scan as part of an experiment for the show. They showed him various pictures to record the reaction in his brain, and one of which was a picture of the now K-pop sensation, Seolhyun. And this was the result.
서련 씨 본 사진은 안 나왔나요, 결과가?
약간 어떤 그런 성적으로 예.
아니 이건 내 의지와 상관없어. 내가 그렇게 하는 거지.
Coincidentally, the airtime of that episode coincided with the recording date of this conversation. And the cast member who had to complete the checkpoint was also coincidentally the man who went through the scan. And the worst of all, she saw it.
그 약간 좀 오버해서 얘기하는 것 같아요. 그러니까 이해를 안
아, 네네네. 의자는 상관없다고 하시는 것까지 봤어요.
I don't know about you, but personally, I find it so awkward that the producer had to mention it in front of the two and have them face the topic in person. Which begs the question, why was this bit shown? What was the purpose of airing this conversation? Was it solely for the sake of humor? Or was showing her lenient attitude towards this topic fumes the fantasies of fans even further? At this point, the pattern was becoming pretty clear. When the show tries to sell someone as a beauty icon, they lean so hard into it, they dump everything else. They dump the humor, the enthusiasm, and in this case, the awkwardness of facing someone who's unintentionally attracted to them. Now, Seolhyun doesn't return to Running Man until over 2 years later in 2018. After that, she made her last appearance on the show in 2019, and although these are two separate appearances within a year apart from each other, they can pretty much be discussed in unison largely because they were the best ones.
우리 그 AOA가 이번에 또 드디어 신곡이 나왔습니다. 진짜 너무 오래 걸렸어요.
네, 거의 1년 반 만에.
요거 한번 봐야죠, 우리 AOA. 이번에 신곡 그 제목이요.
제목은 빙글빙글.
Gone are the countless compliments to her looks. There are dance performances, but largely tied to the intention of promoting a new album. Gone are the selective editing. Now the show even allows moments like this to play out organically.
찬미가 나한테 뭐라 그랬는지 알아요? 와, 나 충격적이었어. 서련 거짓말 되게 잘해.
There are natural instances of heated arguments, moments of slapstick comedy, and generous displays of wit. Compared to what we saw 4 years ago, this is night and frickin' day. So, after half a decade, Seolhyun seemed to be finally treated as a normal variety show participant and was given the chance to show a three-dimensional TV personality that she deserved. But there is a slight catch. Something is missing. In these 2 brilliant episodes of Running Man, there was one thing that was never mentioned. Beauty. Nope. Those comments were never made again. You see, in 2019, at the age of 25, Seolhyun's idol career was slowly coming to an end. Along with her peers in AOA, the song you see performed here in her last appearance of Running Man was also the last song ever recorded for the group before they gradually disbanded. And because of that, the industry stopped treating her as the young, innocent princess that they were trying to make her out to be 5 years ago. As a result, Seolhyun was no longer seen as a beauty icon. You see, she didn't earn her place in Variety because the producers finally realized they've been portraying her wrong. She got it by aging out of a title reserved exclusively for younger idols.
몇 살이야, 찬미야?
저 24살입니다.
아, 진짜? 너무 어린데?
서련이가 그럼 지금
25이요.
What's ironic though is that without the burden of being a beauty icon, she gained so much more freedom and opportunities to just behave normally.
아, 우리 그 AOA도 이제 굉장히 많이 여유로워. 마인드가 많이 달라졌다.
If an idol is considered to be a beauty icon, it also means they'll only be considered as a beauty icon. And sadly, from where I'm sitting, it seems that for a beauty icon to have a personality in Korea's most beloved TV show is to age out of that title. And when they're gone, another young, up-and-coming talent will rise up to take their place and be silenced by it.
다음은 우리 저 원영이. 원영 씨. 개인기가 와 이거 뭐 비주얼.
네, 그렇군요.
개인기가 비주얼. 어떻게 하는 거야 이거는?
Idols are humans. They're not perfect. And censoring parts of their identities won't make them so. But it's not binary. Idols should be allowed to be pretty and talented at the same time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I like to end this with a disclaimer. Besides a couple of exceptions, the clips of the show we see in the video ranged from 2014 to 2019, which means that some of these clips are coming up to being 5 years old. Television has come a long way since then in terms of representation, so this is certainly not indicative of what the show is like today. So please don't take this as a criticism of the entire show in general. In fact, Running Man was my favorite TV show back in the day. I used to have a Running Man fan channel where I edited cheesy highlight reels together because I liked it so much. And I still watch the show from time to time, so despite what I've said in this video, this is a show that I'd actually recommend to anyone wanting to get into Korean variety. Hey, I don't even speak Korean and I was like addicted to this thing when I was in high school, so it's pretty safe to say that this show is pretty fucking funny. So if you want to check the show out, I've left a link in the description below where you can watch all the episodes with English subtitles. Aside from that, if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.